Hello, I'm back again. As you can see, what I'm showing you, are some notes. Um, they're notes about something that I've been talking about in my last couple of presentations, and that is in regards to inner and outer beauty and human epistemology in terms of how do we know how do we know each other? How do we What does it mean to say that we know somebody? Okay. All of these things I've been talking about for a long, long time in terms of presentations, because I think it's very important for people to have the correct epistemology when it comes to human epistemology. Okay. In saying that, there's a platitude that is quoted constantly, and it's a well intentioned platitude, but um, in some ways it is not practiced, especially especially um, with the person who says they believe in it. So um, let me just tell you what the platitude is. It is called, it's what is on the inside that makes a person, not what they look like. So what makes a person is their inner being. It's not their looks. It's not because they're blonde. It's not because they're short. It's not because they have big breasts. It's not because they have small breasts. It's their personality. It's the inner, what we call the inner being. Okay. This is constantly used as a platitude when we are trying to help those who are taking plastic surgery too far. Okay. Those who are anorexic to an extent, those who use extreme and unhealthy measures to achieve a certain look. Okay, and I'm concerned about all of those things. Okay, I do agree that that you can be so obsessive about how you look that you can use unhealthy means to achieve a certain look, and it may not be beneficial to your health. Okay. I mean, look at penis enlargement. Okay. That's a functional, I mean, in some ways it's not as superficial because it's assumed to be a more uh, functional trait, but still, being extreme and perhaps getting that enlargement is not healthy for you. In saying that, that doesn't mean the platitude that I just stated, and I'm going to state it again. It's what is It is what is on the inside that makes a person, not what they look like. Or it's what is on the inside of a person that makes a person rather than what they look like. That statement is true. Okay, that statement is true. But people who claim to say they believe in this statement often have conflicting attitudes, or yeah, conflicting attitudes. Okay, um, because the following scenario that I'm going to give you should not shake your faith in that platitude, but I think many of you will be challenged in your faith in that platitude. And if you are challenged, that means that you don't. It's not that you don't truly believe, or you don't truly want to believe in this platitude, but you you don't believe in it to the extent that you claim you do. So let me share with you the scenario um, that I believe will challenge many of you when it comes to your true belief in the platitude. Okay, this fictional scenario involves Linda, a woman, obviously, Joe, and Steve. They have known each other for 10 years. Now, in that 10 years, Linda finds Joe visually handsome. Okay, he finds him visually sexy. Let's say that he has the stereotypical, hunk physique. It doesn't necessarily mean he has to have that. He could be fat, okay, and handsome. I mean, she can find that person handsome. But for this discussion, since I think that is a something that I can have a large masses of women to agree with, I'll use it. Use it. So any hunk that you see on TV, or even any hunk that you see in real life, um, maybe he has a six pack. He's built. Um, this is the man that she's sexually attracted to. Okay, but there's a problem. She doesn't find him intelligent. She doesn't find him to have a sense of humor. He is a bully. He's arrogant, and she really doesn't like him. But she's known him for 10 years, and from these 10 years, that's what she has gathered from him in terms of his inner being, or gathered in perception. Okay. However, he finds him very hot and imagines um, going to bed with him. Now, Linda also knows Steve for the same amount of time. As I said, they know, Linda, Joe, and Steve have known each other for 10 years. Linda finds Steve visually repulsive in a sexual context. She's tried to think of him as sexy and can't. Um, she just can't get over how he looks, or his appearance just does not generate a sexual charge. And even though she's known him for 10 years um, and finds him generous, sweet, and has a sense of humor, she still finds him visually repulsive. She doesn't want to, she just finds him that way. Now, one day, Linda goes blind. And during, you know, a couple months of being blind, um, Linda does a mind trick. Okay, she does a perception trick. Since she can't see, it's easy for her to do this trick. This is what she does. She sees Joe's mind in Steve's body, and she sees Steve's mind in Joe's body. So she knows that, I mean, the audio, she can't reverse the audio identities of the two, okay, because she really doesn't want to, because that's not the problem of Linda being attracted to Steve, which she thinks is a potential mate. But of course, she finds him visually repulsive. The problem is his physical exterior, which is not who he is. It's what he looks like. So she just sees Steve in the body of Joe, the body and face of Joe. Same voice, same personality, still generous, still sweet, and still has a sense of humor. And as a curse, she sees Joe's mind in Steve's body. So it's perfect. He's visually repulsive, and he's inner words, or inner his he's inner he has an exterior of ugliness, and he has a interior of ugliness. I'm trying to pronounce these words, but I think you know what I mean. So he's completely ugly in perception. Okay. And in a way, it's kind of, in a way, some people see it as justice because, Joe is a jerk, but he is visually attractive, unfortunately. So this is a way of you can see it of this is a way of gaining justice. Now this is a visual delusion. Okay, we obviously know this is a visual delusion because the body types have not changed. I mean, in reality, Joe has Joe's body and Steve has Steve's body. Now, eventually, Linda claims to be in love with Steve. She has romantic feelings for Steve. She cuddles with Steve. She hugs Steve. She kisses Steve. She makes out with Steve. However, it's in the imagery of Joe. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because she's blind. Now the question is Linda in love with the real Steve? I say yes. Because the essence of a human being is its mind. Or his or her mind. It's the essence of a human being. Our brains are the essence of who we are. If you take chemicals that change the neurological components of our brain, you will not be the same person in terms of your personality. Okay. But many of you will say that she did not love the real Steve. But why do you say that? Again, Linda still perceives Steve in the same way that he is in terms of his personality. All the personality attributes that he had before, Steve still has. And she can detect this by her ears because she can still hear. Okay, there's still language that is a mechanism for us to get to know one another. We need to have language to know one another on a romantic level, I believe. Or, I mean, if you don't have language, because animals don't have language, if you don't have language, your love is not as complex as human love. Okay, so the animals, they don't have language. It's safe to say that their love is not as complex as human love. It's more simple, if that is a word. That's proper grammar. I'm sorry. Okay. So the analogy here, the reason why I state that essentially Linda loves the real Steve. Um, I will provide you with an analogy. You have a former red car that turns blue, but the inner parts of it remain the same. So essentially, the car, how we perceive the car, in its essential function, in terms of driving performance, how it drives compared to other cars, remains the same. The only thing that changes is the exterior attribute. Okay, so the car, in essence, remains the same. Yes, it changed to a blue car. And for many of us, we would think that the car has changed if we identify a car based on its exterior. Okay, which many of us do. But if you take the definition of the essence of a car, it is not its exterior; it's the inner parts that compel it to have certain driving performance, or compel it to have, to drive at a certain speed. a certain maximum speed. Okay, and there are probably other things. So that is analogous to what is happening, what has happened in this scenario. There's no logical way somebody can say that Linda did not fall in love with the real Steve. If you honestly believe looks do not make up a person. Okay, looks can influence the makeup of a person, but they are not the makeup of a person in terms of its inner being. The essence of a person is its mind. It will always be its mind. Okay, and I've stated, I have in my notes here that an organ changes. There's only one organ that changes the self. It is the brain. If that organ changes, your self changes. Okay, if there's certain components of your brain that change, you will change. Now, I think I'm gonna end here. If you have any questions, and if you disagree with me, you can state why you do. I will listen. But I think that the argument that I just presented clearly shows that the epistemology, human epistemology, um, and based on the platitude that I just stated about what makes up a person, this scenario is legit. Um, this scenario, we can determine by human epistemology that Linda fell in love with the real Steve. Okay, that's enough, and I'll listen to any questions or comments that people will have. Have a nice day.